Hello everybody, welcome to Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari and welcome to race day number 2 in the EUROCUP-3 series here in 2026. We're here at the delightful Imola circuit, as it's known around the world by a lot of people, in fantastic conditions for the third and final race, strangely called race 2, to complete our weekend. My name is Chaz Draycott and I'm delighted to have alongside me in the commentary box Zach Sweeney. Zach, we had a very, very busy day yesterday, mate, but hopefully today, even with just the one race, we can have just as much action.
Yeah, exactly that. Yesterday was incredible for a variety of different reasons, and well, today hopefully will be no different, maybe on the slightly more positive levels of excitement. But yeah, coming into it, there's a lot of these drivers that have got the potential to win, that have got the potential to do very, very well, and the main talking point I think of the weekend has been the issues that the dominant championship leader James Agosi has been facing. It was a fuel pump issue in race number 1. It was then, of course, the fight back in the sprint that he didn't really get much of an opportunity to do. Ultimately, staying clean, keeping his nose out of trouble, was able to make the best of a bad situation by finishing P6, bagging some points. But he has got the potential to win. He knows that, and he's going to want to dominate from pole position today.
Yeah, he's going to want basically a repeat of yesterday's race, but maybe cut the last 2 laps out and just go straight from lights to flag. But as we can see, the conditions are absolutely stunning once again. A fully blue sky there at Imola with no threat of any cloud or any rain. The teams are making their way now out onto the grid, which is good to see. A lovely shot there as we walk out onto said grid. And the wonderful Alex Garcia will be joining us momentarily. He's going to be heading out onto the grid as well to get us some shots and some feeling of the vibe down there on the grid. I imagine actually, Zach, after a number of safety cars and a red flag yesterday, there's going to be a lot of nerves around this start because we've seen just how quickly it can go wrong.
Exactly that. You know, a couple of drivers won't even be taking to the start of today's race because the team, for a variety of reasons, are unable to get the cars repaired. Of course, Feldman is one of them. So unfortunately, their weekend was done yesterday, and anyone that did see the sprint race yesterday will very much understand and empathise with them as to why that is the case. But other than that, plenty of nerves through the paddock, and these drivers are going to be coming into this probably freshly woken up, heading on to the grid with a lot of adrenaline and a lot of nerves, and well, for a lot of them, maybe a little bit of timidness down into turn number 1.
Yeah, I think just play it safe today might be on the minds of a number of people. And it's interesting because when you get to this part of the weekend, it's either that somebody's had a bad weekend and they need to make points back and they need to really push and be on it, maybe more overly aggressive than they usually are. But then on the flip side, there's people that have had a bad weekend and they think, right, now I just need to sort of save myself and get some points on the board and take it easy. So usually the further you go into a race weekend, the more different approaches you see on the same grid. We have a number of series elsewhere have 4 races over a weekend, and by that 4th one, you never really know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very, very exciting to see. There is the marshal there with the clipboard ready to go. It's very regimented stance, that, isn't it? Actually, you could almost line a load of them up there and be convinced that it's some form of military. But very, very cool to see. And now we have, I believe, a video shot of Alex maybe going to the grid shortly. I don't quite know at this point. We've got a bit of a wait now before we head on to the final race of the weekend.
So basically, how do you make sure? What is it that you need to look at to make sure that all of these cars perform to the same level? Because we know that car performance is very finicky. I always like to say that a car is almost like an animal. There's no 2 cars or 2 engines that are exactly the same, and your job is to make sure that they are as close as possible.
Yeah, in terms of chassis balance and dynamics, it's all the responsibility related to the teams. So we make sure that all the engines are performing the same. So we have all the sensors that we control all the parameters of the engine. So we make sure that all of these are fine-tuned and are measuring correctly, and the performance that we will gain is the same for all the teams.
So Javier, of course, obviously, taking a decision like having NGSR 101 as your partner, your technical partner, is not a decision that you take lightly. You don't just wake up one morning and say, I'll take this one. it is something that you think a lot and you look that they can provide the things that you need, right?
Exactly. So the decision was not easy because basically this aspect is a very important aspect on the championship. Let's say the technical side, we are relying 100% on them. So there's a lot of trust, there's a lot of communication. So we basically, let me tell you that in one of these championships, the technical side can kill the championship from one day to another. And we basically knew Javier Hijano, we knew Juan Fernandez, which is also the general manager, and we knew them from the past because they have a lot of, let's say, a lot of experience in running cars and as engineers and also in organizations. So we basically had a process of negotiations with them, and we actually took the correct decision with them.
And from you guys, how has been that, let's say, that pride on the one hand of knowing that you are the right piece for this puzzle, and on the other hand, how has it been? Have they been difficult on their request, or have they been quite reasonable?
No, the problem let's say, the key on this project was the tight schedule that we had at the end of last year, because we had to build 40 cars, well, 30 cars plus spares, and then in such short period of time. So we were working together, we were having a call every day.
And these are the challenges that people don't see from the outside, right?
We were like brothers. For some time we were like brothers, basically.
We met each other closely there because we had every day talking about, we have issues with these parts. Also we were with the military connectors and auto sports connectors, we were very tight because all of the work problems,
all the components,
the sourcing of these components. So was challenging, let's say, the end of last year.
It's fantastic to hear the insights of what goes on behind the scenes, not just on the racetrack, of course. Thank you very much, Alex, for having that interview sorted for us. And, well, it's like I say, Zach, just interesting to know that there's more that goes into this than just the drivers on the track that we see in these broadcasts, isn't it? I think people sometimes overlook that a bit. In fact, actually, Alex is down there on the grid now, ready to have a chat with us. Alex, how's the vibe there this morning? It looks like it's another absolutely beautiful day there at Imola.
Good morning, chaps. It is a very good and very nice morning here in Imola, and much to my elation, it is not as warm as yesterday. Of course, it is very early here near Faenza, which is of course a very also famous name in the world of motorsports. The sun is shining, temperatures have not risen yet, and other than me being very happy about it, this is important because temperatures are going to be very different from what we saw on the last race we had yesterday. One point to note as well, thank you very much for thanking me for those interviews that we show you guys on camera. This is our off track where we check some of the protagonists from the EUROCUP-3 championship, those who at least are not as famous or as well known, or those who are not necessarily on screen in the next few minutes. So for those who are interested, they can check our YouTube channel because they will find some of those off-track episodes, those that we've done before and in the future, more that we have already prepared for you all. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting, if I do say so myself.
Well, it's fantastic to get that insight of the fact there are so many more people in this series than the people watching at home will keep an eye on. Speaking of keeping an eye on, though, is there any driver this morning that you've had chats to speak to? I know it's still very early in the morning, but anyone that you've spoken to that's in high spirits, or anybody maybe that's struggling to get in the game this morning?
Not that I've had the chance to talk to them, no, but I do have at least a little bit of news, which is that due to the events of yesterday's race, we won't be having Enzo Tarbanichkul, Alceu Feldman or Stefan Bostenjev on today's race. So that's 3 less participants than we would have liked to see, which is unfortunate because these are drivers who could have done something interesting. So if you see some gaps on the grid, that would be why.
Yeah, it's a big shame that, especially as, you know, it was just one simple mistake that can lead to such a big incident. But at the end of the day, that's the challenges of motorsport, I guess. And yeah, it's a big shame to have had that incident yesterday. But Tarbanichkul, quite an important name not to have out there, the Red Bull Junior. I know that with a very distinct livery on the grid, it's going to be he's going to be one to miss for sure, isn't he?
Absolutely, and I have to say, much like you said, I do love that livery. It always looks fantastic on any racing car, but especially on this Dallara 326. Oh, it's just fantastic. The first day I saw it, I can tell you, we were all enamored with the car.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful looking machine. There is the number 33 on the front row. Perard, to be fair, the only one that's really in the top 5 in the rookies at the moment. The rookies were going quite well yesterday, but we've got a massive group of them in the middle of the field on this grid for the final race of the weekend. What have they been like in terms of, keeping an eye on their own competition? Because I know that overall position is very important, but some of them really do keep an eye on their rookie rivals, don't they?
Absolutely. For any rookie driver to be the first of their own, let's say, class is important. Keep in mind that it is so relevant that actually when you look at the official results page, we do have a specific result page separated by class, so to speak, as if this were an endurance race where rookie class is different. So in that sense, it is important for them, but also keep in mind that historically, and this is something that we have seen as well this year, with EUROCUP-3, the rookies tend to be very competitive. Competitive enough that they can either fight for wins and for the championship, or at the very least, to be on the podium. We've seen that, as I said, so far this year quite often, and I don't doubt that they will be doing the same. But yes, if you cannot make it to the overall podium, if you finish 4th, 5th, and you're still in the rookie podium, that's probably going to be something to celebrate for you. But, racing drivers, they like to finish first at anything they do.
They absolutely do. Of course, a bit of a silver lining there with the rookie class. Interesting to see, though, that we've got Rafael Perard on the front row of the grid. Yesterday afternoon, his race ended in very abrupt fashion because he had a spin after being tipped into a spin at Tamburello, and then later on in the race, obviously had that big accident with the 31 of Barboy. So I'm sure he'll be a bit grateful to get this extra opportunity this morning.
Absolutely. And now, you were asking me earlier if I have talked to some drivers today. And I have to say I did not talk to them today, but I did talk to some yesterday, because I'm just remembering that the Palo Motorsport guys have the perfect strategy today. And I'll tell you what it is, because it was relevant yesterday, which is do not crash into the first corner. They've said that, actually. It's a good strategy, so if they follow it, they have a good chance for today's race.
Yeah, it's how I usually approach my sim racing. As long as I can make it to the second corner, then I'm fine to crash whenever I want. So, you've got to at least get through that first corner first. But
exactly.
Yeah, it's. I think that's the only rule after don't hit your teammate, I suppose. Which unfortunately there was. Well, actually no, I don't think there was any teammate contact yesterday. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the two Palo Motorsport cars go down into turn 1. They may be in different liveries, of course, but they're from the same stable, aren't they?
Exactly. It's something that helps us at least to differentiate them from far away. Because normally, if like, for example, yesterday you see the two Palo Motorsport machines, sometimes you would be wondering, which one is which. But here, there's no question about it today. One's in red, one's in black. Both are going to be doing some interesting racing today.
And two other drivers that are starting near the front of the rookie class. I can see that they're 6th and 7th on the grid overall. Dalagnol and Eichmanns, they're both going to be really fired up after yesterday, aren't they? Right at the front of the order in the first couple of races. They're surely going to want a podium at least in this next one.
Especially Dalagnol after that first win, which was taken away due to a penalty. So that's something that he will want to compensate with another good result, with another strong showing, and some extra points, which is always good. One thing to mention, as opposed to the sprint race yesterday, which has already a finalized result, race 1 is technically still pending, because there seems to have been an appeal. So the result is still, we could say it's still provisional, at least until the appeal is sorted out.
Interesting to note. We'll keep an eye on it. Thank you very much, Alex. Great to hear from you down there in the pit lane and on the grid. He's an absolute superstar, isn't he, Zach? He's always there in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, he is. It's always good to hear from Alex because he's down on the ground, so he's got all of the gossip and the inside stuff. I have got a little bit, and that is regarding tyres, as to who's taken what. So Egozi, 4 brand new tyres, same to for Tugnon and Beckley. For anyone else that has taken tyres, though, it's 2, and typically on the right side, obviously with turn 1 being a left-hander. But here's the grid nonetheless for the final race of the weekend.
Absolutely, we have Egozi and his teammate Perard on the front row of the grid. Then it's Keanu Alizari and Pradel in row 2. It's Pradel, isn't it? I keep saying it wrong, I'm so sorry. Stuka and Eichmann's next up on row 3, followed by Delagnol and Trapper, both of them wanting more points out of today. Nacho Tunion starting in 9th place, and he will be alongside Fagali. Then we have Strauven and Kota. We then have Powell and Campos on row 7. Following them, we have Fiorentino, who didn't finish yesterday's sprint race. He's got Harrison alongside him. It's Lammers and sprint race winner Huizenrode starting all the way down there in 18th. Harfield and Bustamante on row number 10. And it's Coretti and Kolovos. Didn't see much of either of them yesterday, to be fair. Barboy and Beckley start on the 12th row of the grid side by side. And it's Stephen Haydens and Bornia, both of them in a little bit of strife yesterday afternoon. And Panetta, of course, involved in that not even first corner incident. Didn't even get to the start-finish line before there was contact for Panetta. But luckily, we get Panetta back out there on the circuit today. 3 cars, though, Zach. Unsurprisingly, I mean, we saw Feldman's car yesterday, didn't we? There was no side pod on it. It was massively damaged. I did wonder whether we would see that car back today, and it's a shame not to have them, of course, but fingers crossed they can come back strong for the next round of the championship at Monza.
Yeah, I mean, the mechanics down there, and we spoke about with the video with Alex of people who we don't see, the unsung heroes as such, and the mechanics are a group within that type of people that we really do need to thank. And as much as they are heroes, they're not miracle workers. So sometimes you need to be a little bit realistic. And ultimately, their car was beyond repair, and that's just the way it is. Not necessarily because of a lack of time, but maybe just a lack of spare parts or whatever. You never really go into a weekend expecting something as dramatic as yesterday to happen. Nonetheless, like I was saying, you've got a very spicy front row of the grid. Egozi and Perard, 2 drivers that definitely have got a lot to prove. Paloma Motorsport still wanting to come out of this weekend with a lot of points. And Alizari as well, who's had some pretty bad luck this season, whether it's something that has come to fruition by his own volition, or whether it's just been a case that he's been at the mercy of someone else sort of dictating his race. Starting from the inside second row of the grid, just in behind the championship leader, I think he's going to be quite spicy over the next 30 minutes as well. Look out for Jean-Marc Pradel also. He was very spicy through the sprint race in race 1 yesterday also.
Fruition by volition. That's definitely going to be a new tagline for me. Final race of the weekend from Imola gets underway very quickly here, and it looks like a really, really good start from the front 2 drivers. There was a bit of a slow start in the middle of the field, and it's Pradel who's lost a couple of positions already, overtaken by 2 of the rookies, Eichmanns and Delagnol going through on the right-hand side. Everybody down into Tamburello for the first time. Look at that. They've really learned their lesson from yesterday. Car off on the gravel on the left-hand side. Hopefully the rejoin is safe. Certainly looks like it was. Great start there by Egozi. Perard has gone with him. Alizari holding on to third with Stuka, and then a little battle behind between Eichmanns and Delagnol, both of them wanting to prove themselves even further after yesterday's success. Big look down the inside there. I think that might have been Strauven looking down the inside of Pradel. They're nearly 3 wide on the exit of Tosa already. And a car out of the race. That's car 91 further down, I think it was. That is Campos out of the race.
Yeah, it is a shame to see, but relative to yesterday, quite grateful as to the lack of casualties that we had. Side by side through Piratello, though, fantastic stuff. That's Gino Trapper versus Fagali. Side by side still, by the time they reach Acqua Minerale, around the outside goes the 84 machine, keeps it pinned, but just gets edged out by the time they reach the apex. Fagali through and up in extra position. Now that's caused a bit of a Constantina effect, a bunch up as they goes up the hill towards the Variante Alta, trying to get involved as one of the Griffin core machines. That's the 41 of Alex Powell coming back through, but to no avail on that occasion. Safety car is called on the opening lap, bringing a neutralisation to that action. Side by side through Piratello all the way to Acqua Minerale. Good stuff, lads.
Yeah, that was lively, very lively. I said they'd learned their lesson and slowed it down, but flipping out, they then went for it. That was brilliant to watch for the few moments that we had. A shame that we needed a safety car there. I did wonder whether Campos was able to get that car fully out of the way. He's on the inside on the way to the Villeneuve chicane, but I think the right call has been made there, in fairness, because all it takes is a bit of silly contact from a rejoin coming out of Tamburello, and suddenly that car is in the firing line. So, yeah, the right call is made, and it means that we get to look at the beautiful Dallara Stradale once again. Just have a look here, though. Pradel on the left-hand side of shot gets a really poor getaway, and both of the rookies behind him just completely swamped him off the start there. The 12 just went backwards.
I mean, we've seen all season some poor starts. I mean, yesterday the entire cause of the carnage was a lack of a start from Tom Vinitschkel. So I think these cars are just very difficult to get off of the line. And ultimately for Pradel, it was something that cost him quite dearly. There we can see what happened to the 91 just coming back onto the circuit. I think something had already broken before he'd even rejoined at that point. And then side by side here, I mean, what a brilliant display between Daniel and Ian Eichmans. Both of them really giving just, right on to the limit, but not a millimetre over, and that's exactly what we want to see through a chicane like the Villeneuve chicane as well. So, yeah, really good stuff on the opening lap. Just a really big shame that we've already lost Campos, but relative to yesterday, I think we'll take it in terms of cleanliness for the opening lap. I will say maybe they've received a supplementary briefing from a race director or something. I know that happens quite often in karting. If the driving standards are suboptimal the day before, they'll usually get a slap on the wrist and a telling to from the race director. So I wonder if that was the case, or if these guys just through self-awareness have calmed it down for this morning.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I'll reference truck racing once again, but I think it was at the start of this year actually, in the very first race, we have, for track limits purposes, because of the size of the machines, we have these big 6-foot foam penalty markers that are basically placed inside the curbs on the outside of the corners. And I think through the season last year, I think we had something like 56 penalty markers collected for one driver. But for the whole first race, out of 4 races at Misano, I think we had 72 smackings of these markers. So they had an emergency briefing about 10 minutes after the first race, and Tony Idden, bless him, from the FIA, gave everybody a good shouting at and then told them to go away. So it was definitely something that goes on at all levels, I think it's safe to say. And I mean, at the end of the day, the drivers sometimes just need that reminder, don't they? And they don't forget that, because some of these drivers will be going around that circuit, and if they have had said briefing, then the words will still be ringing through their heads. Egozi now with a restart to do here, Zach, very quickly. Can he and Perard work together here to try and break away?
They're going to want to, because it's going to be a spicy race nonetheless. Egozi is just interested in the win. I think Perard is just interested in staying with his teammate and maybe going for a late dive.
Let's see what Al-Azhari can do as well, starting in 3rd position there. Just moving over to the left-hand side. Al-Azhari with a puncture in the first race yesterday on the front left, and then obviously the broken suspension on the left rear, I think, as well, in the sprint. So he'll want to at least get some points out of this one. 2 DNFs so far is not how you want your weekend to go. And speaking of go, that's exactly what Egozi is going to do now. Surely will do some weaving. They've almost come to a stop there at the back of the order, but now we get back underway, and it's Egozi breaking clear of Perard. Al-Azhari on his own, but Stuka and Dall'Agnol right together. Hopefully none of the drivers using push to pass before the line. They should have learned that from yesterday. Eichmans and Pradel, his teammate, right together. It looks like actually Perard's made a really good restart right onto the back of Egozi. Lots of cars close together in the middle of the order there. Some of the Griffincourt cars near Drive X as well. I think we had El Fagali going for another attempt at a move there. He's behind Strauven at this point. Then we see the number 41 of Powell chasing down Trapper right with him as they head up towards Tosa. No move this time around. Another look down the inside there. I think that might have again been Fagali. He's really loving sending it into Tosa today, isn't he?
Yeah, it's really punchy. I mean, it's a corner that invites it, right? You just keep your foot planted through Villeneuve and just sort of send the move. That's Powell on the rear end of the high-tech of Gino Trapper, the Argentine, who was on the podium, promoted up to P2 off the back of Cota's penalty from yesterday. Side by side as they approach Aqua Minerali. That's always going to be brave. That's Thomas Strauven, the Belgian driver, trying to get around the outside of the MP of Gianmarco Pradel, but to no avail. The Aussie really parking it quite early in this race, and you can already see a small little bit of a gap starting to form between the 12 and the 4 of Ian Eichmans and Gianmarco Pradel, respectively. I don't think it's going to be too dramatic, though. It's a bit of a hip check through Variante Alta. That's going to cause a bit of a traffic jam on the apex, and then a race down in towards Ravazza at the final couple of corners. And I'm sure we're going to see a couple of cars side by side by the time they reach there. Down the inside, though, goes the number 9, and that's Thomas Strauven on the inside, taking another position from Fagali.
It was actually Strauven that I mistakenly identified as Fagali earlier on. He was the one looking down the inside into Tosa. Lovely shot as they go along the start-finish straight. Al-Azhari now coming under attack from Stuka. Stuka moves to the left-hand side, dives down as the namesake aircraft would have done, and then through into Tambirello. Lovely, lovely move. That made that work all the way down the straight, but straight off the bat now, Al-Azhari surely going to come back at him. Stuka defends to the inside. Al-Azhari really wants to use all of that road. Needs to be careful if he wants to at least take some points away from this weekend, but very pushy at this point to try and, well, make a point of his own, I guess.
I mean, in a championship that, let's be honest, you know, he's had so much bad luck. The championship is, it's a fever dream, right? Let's be honest. Like, for Keanu Alzari, I think now it's just a case of go out there in every single race and see what you can do. You've got nothing now to lose. Side by side up over the crest now in towards the left-hander at Piratella. That's the 41 of Alex Powell trying still to get through on Gino Trapper. This defence, though, just dropping them out of the slipstream. I'm not sure what the dirty area is going to be like in the Dallara 326. I'm sure maybe they are going to feel it, but that's surely offset by a lot of that slipstream. So ideally, you want to be as close as possible to the car in front in order to utilise your push to pass, an extra 25 brake horsepower down that start-finish not so straight. And just by defending through this midsection, you're giving yourself almost a glass ceiling. You can still see the cars in front, but you're not really ever going to catch them. And right now, Gino Trapper having to defend from Alex Powell, but can't do it for too much longer. The Griffin core goes down the inside and takes the position by the time they reach Ravazza.
That was a textbook move, that by Powell. Really good stuff. Made sure he got a good run. Dived out at the last moment, but lovely respect there from Trapper as well on the outside to give the room to do that. He didn't try and squeeze him too much to the apex, didn't make his life hard on the exit either. Now he's got more company in the form of Nacho Tunion skipping and bouncing over the curve on the left-hand side of the circuit. And the Technicar machine goes down the inside. Technicar, a team that are always continually on the rise after arriving on the scene in the last few years, doing a wonderful job. And now, God, Trapper's getting absolutely freight trained here. He's got Lammers behind him now. I'm not sure if he's any relation to Jan Lammers, the old touring car driver, but they're from the same country with the same surname, so you never know. But either way, Lammers, and now, to be fair, a number of others all put the pressure on Lammers down the inside. Trapper again giving room. Nice racing room from Trapper. Really fair stuff. But goodness me, if they keep fighting like this, there's going to be somebody else on the scene as well. There's another car off in the background, one of the GRS machines. That was that car 43? That was Coretti, wasn't it? 44. His teammate now. Oh, goodness me. We're going to just keep an eye on Stephen Hayden for a moment then. But wow, that is pretty nuts. Rene is Jan Lammer's son. I got it right, flipping heck.
Well, there you go. I love how surprised you were that you were right about something, Jazz.
Oh, I'm never right about anything.
Enjoy the little things, I suppose, ladies and gents. 20.5 minutes left to go in this race. Egozi from Parade. Stuka now up there in the podium positions. Keanu Alzari trying his best to stay with him. Sits about half a second or so off the back of Casper Schutter. We've got battles all the way through the field, though, and to be fair, these drivers, they've turned a new leaf this morning. Maybe they're not awake enough to be as punchy as they were yesterday, or maybe they have genuinely calmed it down. But with 2/3 of the race left to go, we've seen some brilliant battles. Meanwhile, Egozi and Parade, they can't seem to shake each other. In fact, I'd actually say Parade probably has got a little bit of pace in his pocket. Side by side as we approach Tamburello once again. Is this Keanu Alzari? No, it's not. Side by side, that's one of the DriveX cars. That's the number 7 of Fagali trying to get through with Strauven just behind him now. So a fight for 7th and 8th. And still, again, all they're doing is preventing their own progress on catching Gianmarco Pradel, who's going to be loving the fact that his defensive work has meant that he doesn't need to defend anymore.
Yeah, all he can see is this big scrap going on in his mirrors, but it's getting further and further away, so he'll be really pleased with that. But yeah, straight off the bat, Fagali and Strauven have been two of the most exciting drivers of this race. They've been throwing the cars at each other since the very first lap, and they've not made contact or anything. It's been lovely to watch. But yeah, Rene Lammers there leading that big train. He's got behind him at the moment Trapper, Kota Huizenrode, who won the sprint race yesterday, Harrison Florentino and Panetta. Certainly a different car. I mentioned Jan Lammers. He used to drive a Volvo 850 Estate in the British Touring Car Championships. It's a bit different to a Dallara 326. I think he'd argue it was just as fast, but I don't think it was. Right now, though, these are the first two drivers on the circuit. Pali Motorsports, James Egozi and Rafael Parade. And the two of them have got a lot of daylight between themselves and Stuka, actually. 1.3 seconds right now. And I think at this point they will maybe continue to work together because, let's face it, that decision is to be made by Rafael Parade because it's either whether he goes for a move or not, uses the slipstream to go past him, uses the push to pass. But I don't think, to be fair, it's in his best interest because if he at least works together with Egozi for a number of laps here and continues to break away, that's when, if he wants to make a move later in the race, he can do because he doesn't have to worry about a car behind. And you can see, look, he's moving this way and that way, but he's just sort of showing his teammate, I guess, I'm not trying to come through just yet, surely.
Yeah, I think that what they're doing right now is perfect, right? They're building a gap. Parade knows that he's in the slipstream. There's nothing pressing about having to go through right now. We've got a little bit of a battle starting to form here. This is, well, that is going to be Ian Eichmann's over his shoulder. Gianmarco Pradel in his mirrors applying a bit of pressure, the two MP Motorsport teammates, and Gianmarco Pradel did look for a bit of a move, I think, down into Villeneuve, but ultimately did not go for it. Also side by side, that's two of the DriveX cars a bit further back, also giving each other, in fact no, that's one of the High-Techs running wide, and well, eventually off the road through Villeneuve. That's going to allow the DriveX machine up and through another position. But in the case of the guys at the front, Egozi and Parad, they know that they've got the pace to stay with each other. Parad hasn't got any pressing, you know, incentive, I suppose, to get the track position because his teammate is still right there. Work together and get away. My only grievance with that would be that Stuka has been able to pull something out of the bag. He's actually got fastest lap of the race so far, 37.065, and has bridged the gap under a second. So now Parad and Egozi need to make a decision, and if you're Parad, you don't really want to be in the middle of a three-man fight.
No, you really don't. And in this lap alone, in the first two sectors, Struker has actually been half a second quicker already. And, well, Parad has been another, goodness me, nearly a second and a bit slower than his teammate. So he's really dropping back compared to James Egozi. It looks like Egozi has seen that he's getting closer and he's thought, nah, stuff this, I'm off. And he's just pressed the push to pass to try and get away. Now a bit of a battle further back there. We still have, is that still Fagali and Strauven right near each other? I think it is. They are well together in this race. They'll be looking at wedding venues by the end of the weekend if they stick together this much. But we've got Egozi still leading and starting to open up an advantage. And it's not actually Strauven and Fagali, but it's two cars from the same teams, if you'll forgive me. It's Huizenrode having a go at, is that Florentino in the 37 machine? It is, isn't it? Florentino just in front of him, having to remake the move after Huizenrode got in front of him initially, and that's the 39 in there, which I believe is, yes, Panetta, who was involved in the start line incident yesterday. So some great battles going on and great recovery drives from some of these drivers. Although Huizenrode, sure, he may have been reversed onto the front of the grid yesterday to take that sprint win. He's not made as much progress as I would have thought in this final race of the weekend, and I think he might be ruining that slightly.
Yeah, exactly. Side by side, look at that. Very aggressive down the inside from the, is that the number 20? Yeah, brilliant stuff. Running a little bit wide. That's what we saw. We just got the tail end of, I think, a couple of laps ago. And I mean, it was ambitious, but ultimately you're carrying so much speed in, and you don't want to brake too hard for the right, because while yes, you want to slow yourself down, if you brake too hard while the steering wheel's not straight, you are looping the car, right? You're either locking both fronts or you're locking both rears, and you're either going straight or you're looping round. So he had to sort of manage the brake pressure, if you like, and make sure he actually got it slowed down without having to lock anything, and with that much speed and the combined G braking, which is quite a lot around Imola. You're doing a lot of braking whilst turning. Think of Acqua Minerale, for example, as one of those standout corners in that aspect. And but in the end, just ran out of road and carried a little bit too much speed. Halfway through this race, though, and to be fair to it, it's been a treat for a final race of the weekend. These guys have been on their best behaviour, but ultimately as well, giving us some racing right on the limit.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. It's great to get that racing without having a safety car or anything like that. I say that just as two cars brush tyre writing with each other down at Tamburello. That is Huizenrode once again fighting with Panetta. But look, already with this scrap going on, Florentino has absolutely cleared off from in front of them. They're still side by side into the Villeneuve chicane. Huizenrode will hold that position for now. But that grind over the curb on that previous lap by Beckley was some Tony Hawk stuff, wasn't it? He was holding triangle as he was going along that rail there. Just shows you how much the cars really do bottom out along these massive, massive curbs and the big runoff areas. No surprise that we've seen a few cars actually break the suspension as they come back on and clip a wheel over such a big curve. We saw it yesterday with Al-Azari, we saw it in this race with Campos. Just the way that these cars can be so fragile sometimes, but you know, that goes against the argument of how resilient they were yesterday. Some of these machines took a right battering. Here is the number 7 of Fagali. He's under attack by Nacho Tugnon in 22. Nacho doesn't quite get the run out of Arianti Alta that he would have wanted. But yeah, we've had an absolute treat of a race so far, Zach. And I think in this middle sector here, or this middle section, I should say, people are starting to just chill it out a bit. They're starting to wind themselves up for that final attack as we head into the last 13 minutes.
Yeah, not long left to go at all. There's our race leader, James Egozi, closely followed, but slightly less closely followed now by his teammate Rafael Parad in the 33. Currently leading the way in the rookies, though, is Parad. And I don't know, you want the overall win, let's be honest, right? You've got the rookie win,
Yeah.
but you want the overall one. That's the ultimate goal. Still fighting Figali and Nacho Tunion. His first weekend for the Spaniard, by the way, in Technicar, who are doing so well in the F4 Spanish Championship, coming a step up into EUROCUP-3, and he's really hit the ground running. Was one of the hardest charges over yesterday before a penalty for a push-to-pass infringement denied him. Benjamin Beckley, though, speak of Technicar, speak of how good they are, 4 new tyres for this race, and it's going to mean absolutely nothing for Beckley. He's down in pit lane at the moment, and, well, effectively that's his day done with only 13 minutes to go.
That's a big shame, and it might be. You mentioned Pirard leading the way in the rookies, but I've seen a message saying that the start procedure is going to be investigated because of a possible jump start for car 33, which is Rafael Pirard. So he's going to have that hanging over him. I'm not sure the team would have told him that because he won't want that in his head throughout the race. Usually you'll get told, you know, about track limits or this is happening, that's happening. I don't know if the team will communicate that with him. It'll be just gun it to the flag, sunshine, don't worry about it. But Pirard, on the track at least, still leading in the rookies right now. Dalagnol and Eichmann's completing the rookie podium after they both gained a couple of places at the start. Pradel hasn't been able to get those places back. There's a battle a bit further down, one of the double R cars with 2 GRS machines for company in there. That is Coretti and Stephen Hayden's behind Harfield, currently running in 20th place. I really do like those GRS machines with that sort of dark green with the yellow stripe. It's almost got an Aston Martin vibe about it, but it looks very military-esque because it's not as metallic or pretty. It's sort of a bit more of a khaki green. It's very cool. Anyway, another battle going on the straight here as they head down the not straight. Would you guess who it is? Oh, actually, further up, another move going on here. That's Powell, isn't it? Going down the inside of Lammers for the what will now be the final, no, not the final point scoring spot, because that's held by Nacho Tunion, who is up the road.
It is Alex Powell really moving forwards in this race, though, it has to be said. And to be fair, has got started. Huge snap of oversteer. Nice slide on the exit of Villeneuve. Just shows how eager he was to get back onto the power. In his mirrors, though, you saw there René Lammers tempted by Ascend. But look at that. Is that Nacho Tunion pointing forwards to Figali?
Yeah.
That is karting textbook. Never really do you see it in EuroCup-3. Eager to sort of say to him, no, look, let's go. Straubing and Pradel, they're right there. Let's work together. I want some more points here. And I hope Figali got the memo for that one, because Tunion I don't think has any intention, and there's nothing more frustrating as a driver when you actually don't want to overtake the guy in front of you and he thinks you do, so he starts defending. But look at the progress they've already made. That gap's closed by a couple of car lengths already. There is still opportunity here for Tunion and Figali. I just wonder how long Tunion is going to be eager to stay behind. I think now he wants to be the one to lead the charge, so pulls out to the left-hand side, down the hill, in towards Ravazza, will get himself ahead by the time they reach the braking zone. And now he's no longer sort of pointing forward to Figali. He says, you know what, mate, I'll do it. Let's go catch.
I think Figali wanted to move out of his way in case another hand signal came his way if he stayed in front for too long. But either way, very interesting to see that. Like you say, you sometimes see it in other forms of motorsport where it's a bit more open, but I've never seen it in a Formula 3 car. That's really, really cool. We've had a couple of drivers, as you can see, pushing the limits a bit much there. That was Kolovas in the DriveX machine going off the road, and just before that it was Barbie in the TC racing car having a bit of a moment. And right now, well, look at this, all on his own. Unfortunately, back there is Beckley right at the back of the order, but he has had that front wing changed. I think it was just to signify that he is still circulating in this race after having that change. At the end of the day, there's no replacement for track time, is there, Zach? You may as well get those laps in and be a part of the race, so your show is classified in the end.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest luxuries in motor racing, and, well, it's the only thing that you really ever want to do is be on circuit. Obviously, you know, we've got huge advancements in simulators and stuff, but nothing replaces that real thing. So if you have got 10 minutes left to go, you know, for Beckley, he doesn't know how much testing he's going to get between now and the next race. So, yeah, you're right. Even though there's no points, it's worth it just to get back out there. You know, the race is going to run nonetheless. So if you're able to and it's safe to do so, get back out on circuit and give it a go. Stuckert versus Parado. This is the battle for second position, much closer to the rear end of Parad than Parad is to Agozi, and in fact he's actually dropped nearly 2 seconds off the rear of the championship leader. Parad obviously going for what will be his first podium of the season, in fact by far his best result of the season. So far that's a P4 back at Portimao. Right now he's got an opportunity to finish second or third. Stuckert wants to promote himself up onto second position, so in the slipstream will pull out to the right hand side and side by side on that run towards Tamburello. It's going to be a difficult one, but he's got the slingshot. Has he got the measure? By the time they reach the braking zone, down the inside, the Frenchman will try and keep it desperately. Gets to the apex first, but under a lot of pressure now in the final 8.5 minutes of this race.
Really good defensive move that by Parade, but I tell you what, I think Stuka is coming through when, not if, he tries to go down the inside into the Villeneuve chicane. But I mentioned yesterday, around the outside is really easy to defend into the Villeneuve chicane because suddenly you're going back to the right. Parade's doing everything by the book here. Really good stuff at the moment. No new tyres on Stuka's car by the look of it, but we do have 2 right-hand side tyres on Parade's machine. So interesting to see that the dynamic is working this way around. Look at that, back down the inside, so Stuka in towards Piratella. And still nothing doing. Parade defending absolutely brilliantly here. This is all but handing a win to James Igozi as he can disappear over the horizon. But what a fantastic scrap and a clean scrap we're having for second place here, Zach. Great to watch.
Yeah, Stuka, I've been told, is one of the only drivers who has got actual extensive experience around Imola. So that was an advantage coming into the weekend. And he hasn't got a podium this season either. For both of these drivers, for Parade and for Stuka, it would be their maiden podium of 2026. Second or third, you're not really fussed where you stand as long as you do stand, but ultimately they want to finish as high up as possible. They do have to be careful though, because Keanu Alizari is clear of Delagnol and he is closing that gap. It's only 1.6 seconds, and actually to be fair, Delagnol is under a second, so Parade and Stuka keep battling the way they are. They could have 2 more cars brought into the fray here with not very long left to go in this race, so something they are going to have to manage, but a good battle nonetheless. A bit further back though, we've got the number 16 fighting away. I think this is the battle between Bustamante trying to keep Harfield at bay, so nice to see Bustamante fighting well, just close to the top half of the field. And to be fair, the hardest charger actually of the entire season is Bustamante. Maybe not the best results in qualifying, but she definitely knows how to move forward in the race, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and I was just wondering there, I'm sure we had 2 GRS cars right next to each other early on, but Stephen Hayden's has just come into the pit lane, so maybe an issue on this last lap because he was 7 seconds slower on that previous lap, so has certainly dropped down and lost time somewhere, which is a big shame. We've had another car off at Tosa by the look of it. There's a big dust cloud on the exit there as they head back up the hill. A bit of grass brought back onto the circuit. The ELMS drivers will be very grateful for that a little bit later on. But we have Pradel and Tugnon. Nacho Tugnon's been fantastic. It's been really good to see him. As Zach mentioned earlier on, we've commentated on him in the F4 Spanish Championship. He's been great there. Good to see him just as exciting here. And whoa, that's a big old moment for Stuka. So he's the one that's dragged all that grass back on, and that has nearly put the second place battle to bed. Here's Bustamante ahead of the 44. Wow, that was a big moment there as well for Coretti, wasn't it? That has just gone off through the Villeneuve chicane. I was going to say both of the GRS cars now having a bit of a drama in this later stage of the race. But this is the battle now for third position. Stuka has suddenly dropped back from Parade after that little moment, and now Alizari and Delagnol are in the mix as well. Who's that going slowly? Oh, is that Panetta? Is that Panetta maybe?
Essentially,
no.
Yeah, it's none of the top 4.
No. Oh, it scared me.
Yeah, I know. I thought for a second it was Parade, but thankfully not the case. Yeah, I think it... But yes, of course. Dropping down and definitely not wanting to hamper his teammate of Kasper Stuka. This, I think, is what happened. This is a bit further back, down the inside on the 37, just open up the steering. I mean, that is as close as you're going to get on the outside of Ravazza there. Nice move between the pair of them.
That was Panetta that time, actually, so I guess I just called it a bit too early. I obviously knew. But we have right now on screen the 22 and the 12 right together, and that is Tugnon now ahead of Pradel, so he's clearly got that move done down the start-finish straight. But, well, I'll tell you what, there's going to be some interesting moves in these final couple of laps, but not from this guy. James Igozi is just disappearing over the horizon here, quite literally in our camera shot, doing a wonderful job, the American. And this is exactly what we expected from him yesterday, isn't it? You know, he started at the front of the grid, he's disappeared, and everyone's had a bit of a scrap behind him. Great race from Parade, though, it has to be said, because from second on the grid to go for his maiden podium this season, he's really held his ground there against Stuka. It's not like he's just sort of plundered around a little bit and taken it easy. He's had to really work to keep that second place in his own grasp.
Yeah, I mean, when Stuka got the run to Tamburello, right, and almost slingshotted completely past him, you could see that Parade was going to be late on the brakes, and he did, to his credit, get it stopped. Mind you, but he did get it stopped, and he got a good enough exit that he was unchallenged by the time they got to Villeneuve. He has dealt with this race superbly. you're obviously going to want to go and win. But I think you can give yourself a little bit of slack when the driver that you lose to is a driver that's dominating this championship so far, and right now is on course for what will be his 6th podium and his 4th victory of 2026. The fight for the podium still seems very, very interesting indeed. There's one of the Griffin Core cars trying to stay defensive, and a bit of a train actually beginning to form. We've got 5 cars all involved in this battle. They're queued behind Thomas Strauven. That's Nacho Tugnon, who's worked nicely with the driver he was battling with a bit earlier on. He's right into the thick of it now and has got eyes potentially to get all the way up into P7 in this race. 3.5 minutes left to go, even less than that, plus the lap, of course, side by side in the background. That's René Lammers, I think, trying to keep the number 7 in back. In fact, that's Jean-Marco Pradel trying to keep Fagali at bay through Tosa, and it's caused a bit of a bunch up once more, up over the crest and towards Piratella. Here comes Fagali down the inside.
Lovely, lovely stuff. He set it up on the exit of Tosa, got the run. It looks like Pradel is struggling for pace out of some of the corners there because he didn't get a good run out of Tamburello, even though it's such a high-speed corner. And then he really struggled out of the Villeneuve chicane as well. So not sure if there's a potential issue there that we need to keep an eye on. But Lammers is now all over the back of him as well in that bright orange and blue machine. The two of them, of course, teammates at MP Motorsport, but a different coloured nose on Lammers' car helps us identify them, especially with some of the bright yellow highlights that some of these cars have. But still, it's weekend number 1 for Zach and I, so we're still learning liveries again, as we so often have to. But it's always good fun to try and pick out the numbers, pick out the drivers. It's certainly character building when you've got this many exciting drivers all fighting on the same circuit. Again, I just have to reiterate how much of an absolute belter this final race of the weekend has been. It's been cleaner and tidier, touch wood. We've not had 3 safety cars like we did have yesterday, but we've got some great scraps going on. It's not like they've sat in single file, is it?
Not in the slightest, and it's been exciting for all of the right reasons. That's René Lammers under a lot of pressure there. There's Jean-Marco Pradel fighting away with his teammate. In the end, swapping positions. René Lammers goes through for MP Motorsport. That's the orange and the blue MP Motorsport, whereas Pradel in the predominantly orange. Nacho Tugnon, though, putting the pressure on to the reigning F4 Spanish champion of Thomas Strauven, who dominated that championship. 9 victories to his name last year, taking a step up into EUROCUP-3. Still doing very, very well is the Belgian, but now has got to basically park it. He's committed. He's no longer in a position to get away from this pack, and Nacho Tugnon, so far this season, has been just unbelievably relentless in the slipstream up towards Piratella. Not quite close enough for a move on that occasion. Meanwhile, also, Keanu Alizari under pressure from Delagnol a bit further up in the pack. Stuker, I think, has been able to get away, but these two still fighting away for 4th place as well.
Yeah, a really good scrap between these two as well. Alizari really wants a podium, but he's just out of reach of it right now. Delagnol obviously wanting to prove himself again after yesterday's disappointment, having that race win taken off him due to a penalty, and then a DNF in the afternoon. Still got a podium in race 1, it has to be said. It's not anything to be sniffed at, but I suppose with winning on the road, it's not quite what it was. I do like the big question mark on the side of the car, almost to say, your sponsor here. But it reminds me of a livery on one of the Williams in the 1990s when they weren't allowed to advertise tobacco. They used to have big question marks on the car. Looked awful at the time, but now it's a thing of nostalgia. James Ngozi, well, to be fair, his battle with his teammates a thing of nostalgia, isn't it? Pirard has gone completely backwards compared to where Ngozi is, and he has got one more lap after this one to try and take another race victory. It would be his first race victory of the weekend, but as Zach mentioned, his 4th of the season. Great scrap here between Strauven and Co. He's got Tugnon right behind him, then Fagali, then Lammers. But Strauven, I mean, he was on the offensive in the early laps, Zach, but he's defending so well as well, isn't he?
Yeah, for a young driver who, well, he's a champion, right? So he knows what he needs to do, but at a much higher level. And these drivers, like I said, Nacho Tugnon is relentless. So dealing with that pressure, knowing when not to defend, especially at a momentum circuit like Imola, where you do need that exit, you do need that drive up towards Piratella. We've seen Nacho Tugnon be very strong. Just behind them, you can see Fagali having to defend from Lammers. These are the final 2 points paying positions. Lammers defensive through the left-hander of Piratella. So and that's going to be helping Tugnon, right? He wants those 3 to battle as much as possible. He wants a straight 1v1 now with Thomas Strauven in order to take 7th position. And for Nacho Tugnon, it's his first weekend in Formula 3 machinery. And you can only really give him credit. Of course, he has got a lot of experience under his belt, and to be fair, he has also got 4 brand new tyres on that Technicar, so the expectation there is for him to go forwards, but he's dealt with this race very, very nicely indeed. And look at that, just sort of one mini sector, if you like, in clean air, and straight onto the back of Tugnon is Fagali, and are putting the pressure onto the Spaniard, in fact, as we head on to the final lap of this race. Strauven would love Tugnon to be defensive right now, so he can cruise away to P7.
Yeah, he would really want to just make his life that little bit easier, wouldn't he? But right now, James Agozi, he doesn't have to worry about defending from anybody. Here is that scrap once more, and it looks like there may have been a bit of a shimmy round in terms of the positions. That's Pradel going past. Is that Pradel going? Oh, there's smoke, and there's a puncture. There's a puncture on Nacho Tuñon's car. I did wonder whether that was him. And oh, dearie me, right at the final hurdle. You better be careful that tyre doesn't go flying off. I mean, there it goes. Well, he's done all right there, actually. He's dispatched that one very safely. But that is a huge shame for Nacho Tuñon. There must have been some sort of contact or something down into Rivazza at the bottom of the hill. That is a huge, huge shame. He was having such a fantastic race, and it all comes to naught in the end with just one lap to go. That's devastating.
It really is, but nothing can be taken away from that man right there, James Agozi, dominating this championship. 2 poles, he gets an extra 2 points on top of a dominant race victory for his 6th podium of the season, his 4th race win of the season. James Agozi is simply brilliant, and this battle as well that's been shared between René Lammers, Figali and Straubing, Tuñon when he was here as well, simply sublime for the final race of the weekend, you have to say. Nothing can be taken away though from James Agozi finally capitalising on that potential.
He's one of those drivers where we're going to have to write a book of superlatives and keep referencing it over the season if he carries on this way. But to take his 4th win of the campaign in 2026 in EUROCUP-3, across the line goes James Agozi. The American takes win number 4 and finally gets that win here at Imola after a very trying day yesterday. He wins by 5 seconds over his teammate Rafael Parada, who wins in the rookie class, gets an overall podium for the first time this season. Same with Kasper Stuka. And then Al-Azhari finishes in 4th, just off the podium. Dalagnol and Eichmanns, after a great start each, finish 5th and 6th overall and will complete the rookie podium. But James Agozi, well, absolutely flying at the front of the order there, Zach. 2 pole positions this weekend as well. So, as you mentioned, 2 points for pole, but he gets that twice as well. So, even though yesterday he had a difficult day, he still scored a number of points. And, well, what a weekend he still somehow managed to have.
I know, it's incredible. I think he also did get the fastest lap as well. I'm just inputting it into my sheet to see just how many points he's got at the moment. I will say provisionally, we'll get the standings confirmed. He sits 54 points clear of Ian Eichmanns, whose consistency has kept him in 2nd place in the championship. Al-Azhari, through everything, right? He's had some awful luck this season. Still, somehow, I say provisionally, scrapes through to keep P3 in the championship as things stand. It's very, very tight, actually, in the fight for 2nd. Less than 20 points separate 2nd all the way down to, let's say less than 30 points separate 2nds all the way down to 5th in the championship. Meanwhile, James Agozi, 54 points clear at the top of the table. I mean, he is just, apart from a fuel pump, unstoppable.
Yeah, very, very true. But yeah, that is a big, big gap, isn't it? Big, big gap for him, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely over the moon to have extended that even further. But you're right, it's incredibly close after that. Eichmann's up to 2nd in the championship after this weekend, so he'll be really pleased with that, because especially in that race, he was a little bit under the radar. He was trying to chase down Dalagnol, but yeah, didn't do too much to excite us in that one. Just scored the points, got the job done. There is the number 48 machine, James Agozi, and he just seems to be taking it in his stride at the moment, doesn't he, after taking a number of victories in such a competitive championship. I think that it's worth highlighting that just because we have one driver that is really dominating it so far doesn't take away from the fact that this championship is insanely competitive. I mean, looking through the result sheets that Zach and I have both made, it's really rare, actually, to find a driver that's had the same finishing position twice. Although I say that, Ian Eichmanns is clearly a big fan of the number 4, which he runs on his car, because he's finished 4th 4 times, funnily enough. So he's clearly a fan of that. But yeah, it's very, very interesting to see just how competitive it is. James Agozi taking it quite literally with the pickup, isn't he? He's almost running the car off the road to get a bit of grass on the tyres. I mean, there might be more marbles out there. Who knows?
Yeah, I think, for anyone wondering as to why he was driving off the road after just winning the race, he's not bad
he's not
at
an
his
idiot.
job. Let's put it that way. He's not doing anything wrong. He's just trying to get as much weight added to the car as possible, whether that's through tyre marble, because the tyres themselves are very, very sticky, so they basically just pick up anything. They act as glue, and that's extra weight. The last thing you want, especially on a weekend full of penalties, is to go to the weighbridge after your first win of the weekend and have it taken away from you. On circuit, though, 5 seconds clear. James Agozi, nothing can be taken away from him as he leads home of Palau Motorsport 1 and 2.
Yeah, they'll be really pleased with that 1-2 finish. And then Kasper Stuka getting his first podium of the season. Al-Azhari just missing out, but some important points after what's been a very difficult weekend for the, I believe he's Lebanese. I could not remember if no, he's from UAE, isn't he? Who's the Lebanese driver that I always get wrong? It's El Faghali further down.
Yes.
That's my mistake. I'm so sorry. I like the Lebanese flag, if that makes any difference. Delanyol 5th in that race. Eichmann's in 6th position ahead of Strauven, who had a fantastic scrap throughout that one with Faghali. He's from Lebanon, don't you know? Then we have Lammers in 9th position ahead of Pradel in 10th place. Powell 11th, another exciting race from him ahead of Trapper, Kota and Harrison in 14th with Panetta 15th. A great drive through from the back of the grid actually for Panetta up into 15th. Fiorentino 16th ahead of Harfield. Huisenroda didn't make much progress in that race with Bustamante in 19th. Coretti completing the top 20 drivers in that one. Then we have Kolovos, Bornia, Barbui, and then the non-finishers were Tunyon, Beckley, Stephen Haydens and Campos. Not quite sure what happened to Yanni Stephen Haydens, but hopefully it was nothing too major. And there's some of the bits of gravel and grass being swept off the circuit. A fantastic view of that, actually. Really good camera shot. Here's a look back at some highlights then of that race. Pradel making a pretty poor start, actually, losing 2 positions straight away to Eichmann's and Delanyol. But luckily for us, it was a very, very tidy start this time round compared to the first couple of races of the weekend. There is the moment for Campos going over the grass and over the gravel, and it was literally just that bounce over there that broke the suspension. There was no contact on the way in or anything like that. That would bring out the safety car for the first and only time in this race. But straight off the bat, Zach, I mean, you did say the drivers maybe taking a bit more time to wake up, but they gave us an absolute corker, didn't they, straight away?
They really did. They weren't scared at all. We saw side-by-side between, it was Eichmann's and Pradel on the opening lap, I believe, and also just throughout the entire race, Al-Azhari fighting away with the Technicar Stuka, and honestly, just a brilliant display of respect, and the drivers making the moves in the clever positions, right, where they actually gave each other racing room. It does ultimately take 2 to tango. Sometimes it did boil over a little bit. We saw there the number 20 of Benjamin Beckley going off, and ultimately he would, finish last effectively in that race. He carried on for extra track time, but ultimately finishing last. And again, the interesting thing to me was how many sends we saw to the inside of Tosa because of just how inviting that corner is. Banked obviously at the apex, and you can still use the momentum on the outside to keep your foot pinned on that run towards Piratella. So yeah, all in all, a really, really good race. Couple of small little scrappy bits as to be expected. You know, these drivers still learning, still free to make a couple of mistakes. But ultimately, that fight for P2 was incredible. That was Parad, his desperate Hail Mary to the inside to stop the charging Kasper Stuka to go around the outside of him at Tamburello. It was a brilliant defence from the Frenchman to take his first podium of the season.
Yeah, it was great, especially considering that he had the rookie win to think about as well. It wasn't like he was just thinking about that overall second place. Lovely move by Panetta there down the inside of Fiorentino into Rivazza, and then the battle in the final couple of laps. Pradel there side by side with Faghali and Lammers in the mix as well. But a big shame for Nacho Tunyon to pick up that puncture into the final couple of laps. Really not sure what happened to his car or whether there was any contact, or, you know, he might have even just gone over a curb or something a little bit too hard. But there is the tyre letting go. Lovely stuff by our cameraman there to get the shot all the way down. And luckily for him and luckily for everyone else, that tyre really gently dispatched itself further down the straight. That was possibly the best of a bad scenario there for Nacho Tunyon. But James Agosi, front of the order, we didn't talk about him much during the race because, well, he just did the job, didn't he? He did a fantastic job and took that race victory. And I'm sure that won't be the last time this season that we hear from him at the front of the order. And speaking of hearing from him, he's going to speak to Alex right now for an interview.
Exactly, not the first time we hear from James Agosi this year. I'd wager probably not the last one. How was this one?
It was really good. It's what it should have been yesterday. Yeah, clean race, no surprises. I knew if there wouldn't be any surprises, we had the pace to win. The car's been mega all weekend, especially for the team. So luck took it away from us yesterday, but I'm really happy to execute today. We deserve it.
We were talking about this yesterday, how important it is for the team that when you're not there, someone else is from Palo Motorsport, but when you're there, there's also somewhere there. This is a 1-2 for Palo. This is mega for you guys.
Yeah, I think right now we're the team to be on and we're the team to beat. We're doing really hard work. We're all working very well, very efficiently. I think the team morale is where it needs to be. From my side of things, I'm very happy with everybody and how everybody's progressing, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season.
And I have to ask you about what does this mean for the championship?
I don't actually, well, I know where Keanu finished. I think Ian was like P6 or something, so a nice gap, could have been bigger, but it's a good cushion. We're heading into Monza. Monza's a very chaotic circuit. Anything can happen. It's a very luck-dependent circuit, so I'm very happy to go into it with a cushion, just should any misfortune occur.
And finally, James, we know that Zach Sweeney and Chas Draycott have been enjoying your racing this weekend quite a bit. You have any greeting for them?
Yeah, hey everybody, hey Zach. No, I like listening to you guys, keep it up. I think yesterday when me and Keanu had our interesting races, I think reaction was a little mundane considering the circumstance, but you guys are doing good. I'm sure you'll be there for the rest of the season.
James, thank you very much. Enjoy your win and see you in a few weeks in Monza.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Grazie a tutti.
So as you can see, guys, these drivers do not miss any bit of the action. They are even watching our streams, be it when they're not racing or after the race is done. These drivers are just made of an entire different level, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's great to hear from James. I know that my name's a bit of a unique one, so at least he knows Zach. But yeah, fantastic that. Absolutely brilliant. That smooth wink at the end, flipping out, that's going to get to a few people, that one. But it's so lovely to see that he's so composed after such a great race, you know. I mean, our reaction, I'll make sure I'm a bit more shouty next time. I'll take the feedback on board as well. But no, he's done a great job today. And at the end of the day, I think that's, like I've said, not going to be the last time that we see him on the top step this season. He just seems to be the driver to beat right now in all forms, you know. He's got the mental capacity to just keep that going, hasn't he? He just doesn't seem phased.
No, not in the slightest. He is, I mean, just on such a good run of form, isn't he? And, you know, and also equally as well, it's so easy in a position for him to have an ego. I literally just said to you while we were messaging, it's so easy for him to have an ego, and he doesn't, right? He thanks the team, and he acknowledges that he's the favourite, and there is a fine line between that confidence and that egotisticalness, and he just hasn't got it. He's full of confidence and, well, beaming, I think, off the back of what is his 4th race win of the season.
Absolutely, and by the look of it, we have Rafael Perard ready to have a word with Alex Garcia as well.
Yes, sir, we are with Rafael Perard. Raf, that was a very nice result. For you, for the team, good day today.
Yeah, no, good day, especially after a hard weekend like that, where luck wasn't really on our side. And yeah, no, really happy for the team. It's very good points as a team, and for myself too. It feels good to be back again on top and where I think I should be.
James was talking about how chaotic Monza tends to be. Do you think that can play to your favor if you play your cards right?
Yeah, well, honestly, it's gonna be like Imola. You know, I've never been to this track, so it's gonna be discovering. James has already been, so he's gonna have an advantage. So yeah, I'm gonna learn from him. You know, he's gonna tell me how it's going. I'm gonna watch some races again to see how it is, and yeah, of course, the goal will always to be as clear as you can during the race, and yeah, keep cool and take advantage of the others.
Now I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. First victory won.
First victory, well, hopefully next week, yeah? next race. But no, anyways, I don't need to rush things. Just the main thing is to stay consistent and score points. So yeah, happy with this.
Good job, Raf. Time to enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Hopefully next time out, apparently. This is the goal from Rafael Perard.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's fired up for another victory. Well, sorry, for his first victory, which is exactly how you want the drivers to be. We heard from Juan Cota, didn't we, Zach? And he said, you know, I'm not going to think about podiums or points. I'm just going to go for the win. And it seems like that's a mentality shared by a few of them, isn't it?
They're racing drivers, come on. Like, of course they're going to want to go out there and win. You know, they have to be realistic at one point, but when they've got their 30 seconds in front of the camera, they're going to make the most of that and sort of go in and start swinging and make a statement as well, right? They're not here to finish P4 or P5. As much as we talk about them still being a good result to finish in P4 and P5 and banking those points in the case of James Agosi's P6 yesterday, ultimately that's not what they're here to do. They're here to win, and all of them, or quite a few of them, have got the capability to go and do so. I think Monza is going to be a really interesting one, because if you are slightly off the pace, you are going to be able to make up some of that deficit with the slipstream. The pack is going to be very, very close, and I think we all know what a Monza T1 looks like as well. So it is going to be such a good round, and one where a lot of people, I think, are going to have the ability to go out there and win a race.
Hopefully they haven't learned after watching the GT World Challenge a few weeks ago, and we can get all of our top 10 through the first corner. But it's going to be an exciting race weekend at Monza. Really looking forward to that. The slipstream is such a level playing field, and I think that's what the drivers have to think about, and that's one of the great things about the calendar that we have here in EUROCUP-3 as well. We go to a lot of very different circuits that have many interesting characteristics. We end the season at the Hungaro Ring, which I think is going to be very interesting. A lot of Formula One drivers in the days gone by have described it as Monaco without the buildings, because it's so hard to overtake there. I'm sure our drivers will prove them wrong and show them exactly how it is, but you look at the likes of Silverstone, for example, lots of straights there. Jerez, there's lots of high-speed sections there where it's really difficult to overtake. Monza is obviously going to be the main slipstreaming plateau, let's say. So I'm excited to see how different that turns out to be from a track like Imola. As Zach pointed out, it's a very momentum-based circuit. As soon as you get offline or have one little issue here or there, you're just going to get overtaken by numerous cars if they queue up behind you. So, yeah, I think we're blessed with a very good calendar in this championship. I'm sure that we've got the best pick of the bunch from the wonderful European circuits we could potentially go to. But yeah, it's hard to call how it would go at Monza, because now we're not going to have Igozi just disappearing up the road. As long as he can't break that slipstream, people are going to stick with him as if they're all on the same pace level.
As long as you don't have a repeat of GT World Challenge, I think we're going to be okay. Down into T1 at Monza. I know a lot of these guys are sim racers as well, so they know full well what Monza looks like. They've done hundreds of laps around it. Yanni Stephen Hayden's is one that I'm interested to see how he does, because he is a regular lap record setter on iRacing as a platform. So a lot of these drivers, I'm sure, are going to go into Monza knowing that mentality, but as much as you can be aware of it, how able are you to avoid the carnage that happens down into turn number 1 at Monza? I think we are going to see some great racing though. Like we say, the slipstream is going to keep everyone nice and close. If you have got sort of a pace deficit, if you like, that can be made up by slipstream. So racecraft is going to be the talk of the town, I think, when we get to Monza, because it's not just going to be about raw pace and consistency. It's how can you keep your composure in a very tight pack and slowly but surely fight your way to the front, defend when you need to, not defend when you need to as well, and just sort of balance that in your head. I think the good from the great are going to be separated when we take to the Temple of Speed.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it looks to me like we might have Alex Garcia on standby for another interview in just a moment. Another driver with fantastic hair. I'm definitely jealous of all these young lads with great hair. Even Zach's got amazing hair compared to me. I think everyone has. Alex Garcia on standby with Kasper Stuka.
I need to tell Kasper that. Kasper, from up there in the commentators room, we are having Chas Drake saying that you have fantastic hair. So you can have that to celebrate on top of that P3. That was a great result for you guys. You've been progressing so much over this season.
Yeah, man, long time no see, right?
It's
From
been a long
Barcelona.
time.
Yeah, happy to see you again here. No, I mean, yeah, the progress is mega, like starting from Winter Series when we were far back, like really, honestly, we were not having good time, and then like progressively getting better and better, doing all this testing, all this hard work, In Paul Ricard we scored the first points, then we were trying to get top 5 in Portimao. Yesterday 2 top 5 finishes, and yeah, today on the podium with the mega pace to actually probably get second place or even win the race at some point. But yeah, I mean it's just great pleasure to work with Technicar, and yeah, I'm super happy.
What does this mean for you specifically, though? Of course, it is a great result for the team, but you also are proving to be one of the guys to be on top, plus bringing the whole team up with you.
Yeah, I think that's very valuable because winning for a team that's already been successful is one thing, but other thing is to work with someone to actually create a good car, good team, and yeah, I'm even more happy than to be easily on the podium. I'm even more happy to like build it on my own.
I know that you had some experience in Imola, that would have helped a little bit, but of course Monza next time out is a track where things can happen. Expectations for there?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun like last year for sure. I mean, the Monza is always fun. I know the track very well. I love it. So yeah, again, going to Italy will be super fun. Yeah, I mean, we got top 10, we got top 5, we got top 3 now. So what's the next thing?
Are you promising something for Monza?
I'm not promising nothing, but I can promise I will try to do.
Good job, Kasper. Time to enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Brilliant stuff from Kasper Stuka. And I mean, he's put a lot of hard yards in this weekend, hasn't he, Zach? He's been right in the fights a number of times. 3 top 5s from this weekend at Imola, capped off with a podium. That's not a bad weekend at all, is it?
No, and in the championship as well, that this season dominated by Polo Motorsport. Historically, MP have been up there as well. And Technicar, they are becoming a little bit more established, both in EUROCUP-3 and in the F4 Spanish Championship. But they know they're not necessarily fighting for a full championship campaign, so they're just finding the gap. And I think Kasper Stuka knows that, and he's just as eager to go on the ride with the team as the team are themselves. And he's been chipping away at it. Since the sprint race at Paul Ricard, the second race of the weekend, he's not finished outside of the points. It's P5 in race 1 at Portimao. It was then P5 in both of the races yesterday here at Imola, and he's topped it off with a podium. And I think he is going to be over the moon with that, as anyone would be. So for Kasper Stuka, I think he is going to be going into Monza, a circuit that he does know very well from his Italian F4 days, and he's going to be going into it absolutely swinging. And he was P3 in EuroCup-3 last year with 2 wins and 7 podiums. He's going to want to go and chase those records and potentially beat them himself. And he's got the abundance of talent needed to go and do it, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly, he's put himself on a good trajectory to do so, hasn't he? We've got a wonderful podium here at Imola for this weekend. Certainly looks fantastic, and the drivers will be making their way up to it in just a moment's time. For the final time this weekend, you can see Boris Casadillo on the left-hand side, the Italian announcer. He's circuit commentator at Misano and a wonderful announcer at many major Italian racing events with ACI and all others. He's a really, really funny guy as well. He's very enthusiastic. I don't think I've ever seen him commentating sitting down, actually, at Misano, the multitude of times I've been there. He's a very, very enthusiastic guy. Loves his job, as we do here in the commentary box as well. And we hope you've enjoyed our commentary this weekend. And, I'd certainly look forward to the rest of the season. And, of course, we have the F4 Spanish Championship as well, with lots more rounds still to go. A lot of race weekends you'll be spending with Zach and I for the remainder of the year, and we're certainly excited about all of it. We just wait now for our drivers to head up there, Zach. It seems like they're fast in every regard except for getting onto a podium.
It is I've always found this, racing drivers are never in a hurry to receive their trophies. I remember one race I did a couple of years ago for GT Cup, and I had to wait for sort of 25 minutes before the drivers could even get themselves to the podium. It was remarkable. But yeah, ultimately, they deserve the trophies. They enjoy also the debrief. We saw there a couple of the drivers, doing the racing driver hand signals where they talk about the race itself, the jostling of position, the snaps of oversteer, and they do love that little bit of a debrief. But there you can see them making their way to the podium. Kasper Stuka for his first of 2026, and I can definitely assure you probably not going to be the last.
No, 100%. An amazing job. Great to see Kasper Stuka up there, and obviously to have Perard up there after that amazing defensive drive is really, really good to see. And James Agosi takes another race victory this season and extends his championship lead to over 50 points now. And, well, it's certainly looking like his championship to lose even this early on. Now, one day after Independence Day, we'll have the American national anthem. There you go, the national anthem of the United States of America, I should say, but when I try and blast it out very quickly, I obviously had to shorten that one, so apologies. But yeah, James Agosi will be hearing that national anthem a number of times over the course of the season, I'm sure. And there is his representative from Palo Motorsport holding the trophy high. Handshakes for everybody from our trophy representatives. And now, another bit of silverware getting handed out there. This one will go to third place finisher Kasper Stuka. And he'll be really pleased to have that. Sounds like the other guys on the podium and the only ones clapping there, just how the way the audio is working on this. But yeah, I think these guys will be a bit relieved, each of them, after this weekend, because they've all had very interesting races. But to finish off the weekend with a podium, as we've discussed, Zach, is all important now because they get to sort of hang on to that until they get to Monza.
Yeah, exactly that, right? And, it's a bit of momentum that they are going to want to keep with them. They can enjoy it. They can't get complacent, right? Because they still do know that Monza is going to be a hard graft, and they do, have to still put the work in. But ultimately, yeah, they're going to be filled with confidence by the time they get to Monza. They're going to have the momentum, especially for James Agosi. I think for him, his challenge is just to see how early can he wrap up the championship. But for the likes of Parada and Stuka, they still have an opportunity to fight and find their way up into the top 5 in the championship. They're in actually a battle themselves in the championship. They're only separated by 9 points apiece, with just actually some really consistent top 10 results for the two of them. So yeah, really interested to see how the rest of the season is going to go. Cannot wait for Monza as we kick off what will be, well, the halfway point of the 2026 EuroCup-3 season.
Absolutely. It's going to be an absolute corker next time round. Thank you very much for joining us this weekend. Chaz Draycott and Zach Sweeney in the commentary box for EuroCup-3. And we will see you in a couple of weeks' time at the end of July when we head to Monza.
Attendiamo che ci raggiungano i giovanissimi che sono già pronti qua al podium.